So welcome you all. So what is asset accounting according to your definition? Anybody can give a definition for asset accounting. What is an asset accounting? Okay, so we call it the concept of A to R. Okay, we call it the concept of A to R. What is the A to R? Acquisition to retirement. We are acquiring an asset. Definitely, we are acquiring an asset. Acquiring is nothing but in SAP we call it as the APC cost. What we call? We call it as the APC. What is APC? Acquisition and the production cost. APC is nothing but in a normal terminology, as a layman, I can call it as a acquisition. But in SAP terminology, we are going to be calling it as APC cost. APC is nothing but acquisition and the production cost. The acquisition and the production cost means we are acquiring an asset from the vendor. Yes, definitely. So the value of asset is $100,000 USD. Okay, so I'm taking as $100,000 USD. So this is my value of my asset, which I call it as an APC. So what we are going to do, we are going to be calculating the depreciation of the total value of an asset. Means every year we are going to be calculating the depreciation. So asset has to undergo for the depreciation every yearly. So what I'm going to do, the total useful life. Okay. What is going to be, see, I'm not going to be considering the historical assets like, okay, which are going to be the historical like heritage assets, like which are going to be more than 100 years or 150 or 200 years. Just consider a building, a residential building or a factory building or a plant building, whatever the building. Maximum, okay, the value of the asset we are going to be calculating up to 25 to 30 years. Maximum it is going to be. So we call it as a useful life. We call it as a useful life. What is the useful life here? I'm taking a 10 years is nothing but the useful life. Example, just considering as the 10 years as the useful life here. And the 10 years is going to be the total calculating of a depreciation of an asset on the total, on which value? On the total APC value. So you're acquiring an asset at the value of 1,000, that is nothing but okay, $100,000 USD, that is for the 10 years. And what is the depreciation? Which method you are going to be using for the calculating the depreciation? So there will be a different types of depreciation methods will be there. Like for example, straight line depreciation. Every year, the straight line depreciation should undergo 10% or 12% for next coming years. For total 10 years, I'm going to be talking. So what is the depreciation method you're going to be using? It depends upon the scenario to scenario. Some companies, they are going to be using as a 10% as a straight line method. 10% is going to be called as a straight line method. We call it as the SLM method. Some companies will go with a WDV method. WDV is nothing but written down value method. Some companies will go for the declining balance method. Declining is nothing but, so some, okay, for first 4 years, it should be the 12%. Second 4 years, it should be the 6%, like that. Declining balance method depends upon the process wise, depends upon the company's process, what type of asset they're going to be acquiring and what depreciation it has to undergo. So for example, here, we are going to be considering as a 10% SLM. SLM is nothing but a straight line method. Means for next coming years, from 1 to 10 years, the value of the total depreciation amount is going to be the 10%. There is no change in the depreciation percentage. We call it as a straight line depreciation. So when you are going to be calculating the depreciation, at what time of interval you're going to be calculating? Actually, we call in SAP terminology, we call it as the ordinary depreciation calculation date. We call it as the ordinary depreciation calculation date. So when you are going to, when you have acquired this asset, okay, what is the date? What is the date the asset has been acquired? So we call it as the acquisition date. Actually, we call it as the acquisition date. And there is one more date called as a capitalization date. Capitalization date. And we call it as a value date. Actually, asset value date. Asset value date. Now, what is the acquisition date? A date where the asset has been acquired is nothing but we are going to be calling as an acquisition date. So what is that? So the total APC cost is going to be the $100,000 USD. So you have procured this asset, means I procured, this is what exactly we call it as a residential building. We call it as a residential building. I'm just making a note here. This is the residential building. So the total is nothing but $100,000 USD. What is the date you have acquired from the vendor? So the date is going to be on 01/01/2021. So this is my date actually. This is not the capitalized when the asset has been put to use. This is the date when the asset has been acquired. So what is the capitalization date? A capitalization date is the date when the asset has been put to use. I acquired asset on 01/01/2021, but I started using this asset not on the same day. I started using this asset on day which is going to be called as 10/1/2021. Means after exactly 10 days. After exactly 10 days, the asset value date will be the same acquisition date here. So 01/01/2021 is nothing but your value date. Asset value date will be equal to your acquisition date here. Asset value date will be equal to your acquisition date. So here, the 3 dates are going to be very, very important. Now, you started using this asset on 10/1/2021, which is called as the capitalization date. So the ordinary depreciation means you are going to be calculating the 10% on the total value of $1,000 for a years of 10,000. What date you want to start for the calculation? Do you want to start? SAP has to know. If you leave this field empty, automatically it will take the capitalization date, acquisition date into the consideration. If you leave this field empty. But do you want to calculate the depreciation based on the acquisition date, or do you want to calculate the depreciation based on the ordinary depreciation date based on the capitalization date, not on the acquisition date? So it has to be decided, because this is very, very important date we are going to be calling. We are going to be calling it as the ordinary depreciation calculation date. Very, very important, my dear friends. Very, very important. On the same month, in the month of January, again, for the same asset number, I'm not taking another asset number. The same asset number, the asset number is 1001 asset number. We call it as the asset number. Okay, just like a GL number, vendor number, BP number, this is the asset number. The same asset number, again, okay, because it was not retired, because it is still in the action force. Okay, it is not retired actually. It is in the action force. It is completely active asset. Again, in the same month, in the month of January, again I have done some APC value. Means I added some APC value to the same asset. That is nothing but I added about $5,000. Very, very important, my dear friends. On which date this particular acquisition was done on? So this is the date the first acquisition was done. This is the first acquisition date. We're going to be calling it as the first acquisition date. Very, very important. These terminologies are very, very important. And again, I added some value to the same asset. Very, very important. So on which date? 15/01/2021 is nothing but, again, added. How much amount you added? 5,000. So $1,000, $100,000 plus $5,000. $1,05,000 is the total asset value in the month of January. So according to the classic asset accounting, there are two types actually: classic asset accounting and the new asset accounting. So according to the classic asset accounting, till ECC 6, very, very important, till ECC 6.0, till enhancement package 4, EHP 4, okay, we have old asset accounting only. We call it as a classic asset accounting. From EHP 5 onwards, from EHP 5 onwards, new asset accounting has been introduced. Please make a note of this. Still, till up to enhancement package 4, we are going to be calculating the asset depreciation based on the old calculation process. That is what exactly we call it as a classic asset calculation. From the EHP 5 onwards, the new asset accounting has been introduced. So what is the difference? The difference between the classic asset accounting, CLA. The difference between the classic asset accounting and the new asset accounting is calculating the depreciation depends upon the total value of the month. See, for example, what is the total value? See, according to the classic asset accounting, what it is going to do, there are two transactions had done in the month of January. That is the first acquisition went on 01/01/2021, and the second acquisition went on 15/1/2021. So there are two transactions are there. So in the classic asset accounting, what it is going to do, the calculating of the depreciation will be done based on the transaction wise. Very, very important. Actually, when you are going to be posting the depreciation will be posted in the period end. Period end will be the posting of the depreciation. What is the period end here? According to that, 31st January is the period end. 31st January is the period end. So every period we are going to be calculating the depreciation and we are posting the depreciation. That is what the period end closing activity in the asset accounting. So in the classic asset accounting, what is happening when you are calculating and posting the depreciation as a month-end processing activity? So what in the classic asset accounting, it will be calculating based on the transaction wise. But when I see the total consolidated amount in the month of January, it is going to be called as a $105,000. It is a $105,000. Very, very important. $5,000. Very, very important. This is the total acquisition value in the month of January. But in the classic asset accounting, the 10% will be calculated on the first transaction, and the second 10% will be calculated. The second 10% will be calculated on the second amount. It is a transactional based actually in the classic asset accounting. Whereas, according to the EHP, when the new asset accounting has been introduced, it is not based on the transaction wise. What in the period closing activity, what the number of transactions you have posted in the month of January. It will be the total sum of the number of transactions you have posted in the month of January. So on the total of $105,000, the 10% is going to be calculated. This is the new asset accounting, not based on the transaction based. In the new asset accounting, what the SAP is going to do, total in the month of January, if I see in the month of January, there will be a multiple transactions have been happened. There will be multiple transactions. So what it will do, the total number of transactions you have posted in the month of January is equal to the total consolidated amount. On the total consolidated amount, the 10% means whatever the 10% you are going to be calculating, the 10% will be calculating on the total value, not in the classic. In the classic asset accounting, what is the formula we are going to be using? We are going to be calculating the depreciation on each and every transaction wise which has happened in the same period or the same month. So there will be some variations will be there from the classic asset accounting to the new asset accounting. Very, very important here. Definitely, there will be some 0.5% or something like whatever the percentages are going to be. There will be some variance will be there between the classic asset accounting and the new asset accounting. But now in SAP S/4HANA, what is SAP S/4HANA is telling that? So SAP S/4HANA, the new asset accounting is a mandatory. Very, very important. Please make a note of this. Now there is no classic asset accounting at all. The new asset accounting means the calculation of the depreciation will be done based on the total number of transactions you have done in the same period. That is the new asset accounting. The calculation variance, the calculation formula is different between the classic asset accounting to the new asset accounting. So in SAP S/4HANA, what it is telling that it is a mandatory. Now it is a mandate. Even if any client they want to transformation, means if the existing clients are there in ECC 6.0, but still they are working on the classic asset accounting, even though they have the enhancement package is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever may be the enhancement package, still they are working in the classic asset accounting. It is a mandatory. I'm talking about the existing customers. Now it is a mandatory for them. You had to convert, before you convert the system from SAP ECC to SAP S/4HANA, you had to activate the new asset accounting. It is a mandatory. If you're not activating the new asset accounting, the conversion cannot be happened from SAP ECC to SAP S/4HANA. It's a very, very important, because the new asset accounting is a mandatory in our SAP S/4HANA. So what is SAP is very clearly telling that? SAP is very clearly telling that new asset accounting is the mandatory, but existing customers who are still working on classic asset accounting, it is the mandatory step. Before you do the system conversion, first you need to activate the new asset accounting, then you can go for the system conversion from ECC to SAP S/4HANA. So when I come to this activation part, there is a one business function. We call it as the business function, BF. We are going to be calling it as a business function. So we have to activate one business function called as EA-fin. If I want to activate if I want to move from the classic asset accounting to the new asset accounting, you had to activate a business function. What is the business function? EA-fin is the mandatory step. You have to do it. So here, if I go to that, okay, see here. Go to the transaction SFW5. SFW5. Just click on continue. See here. So here there is an option called as SAP S4HANA always on functions, because this is a very, very important, always on business functions. Very, very important, my dear friends. Some of the business functions are always should be on in SAP S4. And I don't know what business functions you are activated in SAP ECC, but now in SAP S4HANA, some of the business functions are always should be on. So these are the business functions which should be on if you want to convert your system from ECC to SAP S4HANA, or mandatory it is the on function in SAP S4HANA for a greenfield implementation. A very, very important. So if I come down, so here, this is the business function you can see, EA-fin. Very, very important. So this business function is very, very important for FI. So you have to activate this business. Already it is in the activation mode. You already can see it is in activation mode. So this business function should be get activated in your SAP ECC before you convert the system from ECC to SAP S4. This is a mandatory step. Very, very important here. So what is the business function? EA-fin. So this EA-fin has to be get activated in SAP S4HANA. Very, very important. If it is not activated, you have to activate it manually by the basis consultant. Consultants are going to be activating this. So the change here is the calculation formula. The calculation formula is between the classic asset accounting and the new asset accounting. As once again I'm repeating, in the classic asset accounting, what is happening, that the calculation of the depreciation will be done based on the transaction wise in the total number of transactions you're posted in the current period. But in the new asset accounting, it will be the sum of the consolidation amount of the total transaction value in the current period for the posting of the depreciation, for the example 10% or 12%. It will be not based on the transaction wise. Very, very important. So this is the small slight change between the classic asset accounting to the new asset accounting. Very, very important. So you're going to be using the called as the pro rata base. So we are going to be calling as the pro rate. What is the pro rate, sir? Exactly. See, sir, when the first acquisition went on 01/01/2020, what is the value of the assets, sir? 10%. I'm right or wrong? 10%. So there will be no change. So the ordinary depreciation calculation date will be on 01/01/2021. Very, very important, sir. Very, very important here. So again, I added some value to the same asset, that is nothing but $5,000. Very, very important. But this asset acquisition was done on 15/1/2010. So this will be on the pro rata base. Pro rata base means the 10% of the depreciation will not be calculating. Very, very important, sir. Even though ordinary depreciation calculation date has been given as a 01/01/2, this is for the first acquisition. For the second acquisition, whatever the value you are going to be calculating, it is on the pro rata base. Pro rata base means from the 15th of the month till the 31st of January, it is going to be calculating the 10%, not based on the 01/01/2021. It's not happening means in the classic GL, what we are going to do. So in the classic GL, automatically the system will not do the consolidated amount. It will not going to be calculating the depreciation on the consolidated amount. It is based on the transaction wise. It is based on the transaction, how many number of transactions you have posted in the month of January. It will be doing based on the calculation. Yes. Now, in what I'm telling, now I'm coming to your definition of the question. Now, what I'm telling to my SAP here, don't do the calculation based on the transaction wise. Just till the month of January, from 01/01/2021 to 31st/01/2021, you just combine the value. It means you consolidate, you accumulate the total value of the asset, and you start calculating the depreciation of 10% on the total value. Very, very important. This is in the new asset accounting, which is not happening in the classic asset accounting. Acquisition, and I'm adding a retirement. Oh, sorry, addition. I'm going to be calling as addition. So two things I'm going to be taking, sir. Okay, very, very important, sir. Acquisition and the addition. What is acquisition, sir? Acquisition is nothing but the first acquisition of the asset you have been procured from the vendor. We are going to be calling it as acquisition. Are you accepting, sir? Very good. Okay. So when the first acquisition was done, the first acquisition was done on 01/01/2021. Very, very important, sir. Very, very important. Now, according to the SAP terminology, I'm telling about the calculation part now. I'm telling to the calculation part. So which period I'm going to be considering as the 01 period? I'll tell you what is the 01 period. So if I go to the 01 period, so for example, I'm just taking an example, period control method 001. So the acquisition and the addition here, both, okay, if I see the acquisition and the addition here, 01 and 01, very, very important. So what is the formula I'm giving here? So acquisition is a 01 period and addition is a 01 period. Retirement is nothing but you're selling this asset to a customer. Retirement is a 02 and the transfer is going to be called a 02. So what does it mean that it is a January and it is a February? No, it is not a January and February. It is what exactly you are going to be calling it as the period control method. So the period control method acquisition I given as a 01 and the addition I given as a 01. So when I go to the 01, see here, very, very important. When I go to the 01, what is the 01 here? 01 is nothing but prorate at the period start date. Prorate at the period start date. Can you tell me what is the prorate at the period start date, sir? For example, sir, you have acquired, okay, for example, you acquired the asset on 10/01/2021, sir. So when you are going to be calculating the depreciation will be calculated on 31/1/2021. So what is the prorate period start date? 21/01/2021 is going to be calculated. So here, what is the formula here? 01 pro rata at the period start date is going to be called as a period. So 21 days is going to be. So this 01, what the 01 have been given? The 01 has been given in my period control. So what exactly? The 01 I given in the period control. Example. This is the 01. Acquisition and the addition both are going to be pro rata at the period start date. Now, how the system knows it is a pro rata? So if I come to the period control, here we have an option called the defined calendar assignment. So this is what exactly. What is my fiscal year? My fiscal year is the K4. My fiscal year is the K4. K4 is nothing but Jan to December. Jan to December. Very, very important, sir. Very, very important. Now I'm explaining the pro rata period start date. So my fiscal year is a K4. So for my company code 1710, which fiscal year variant you are assigned? K4. K4 is nothing but Jan to December. Very, very important here. So now Jan to December. So this is not my fiscal. 24 is not my fiscal year. So my fiscal year is a K4. K4. So I'm coming to the K4. See here, very, very important. K4. K4. What is the K4 is telling? Pro rata, this is what exactly I given. Pro rata at the period start date. Very, very important. Means what is happening in the first month. Very, very important. Based on the transaction. Based on the transaction means you have acquired this asset on 10/1/2021. So the pro rata means the 21 days is going to be the calculation. The 21 days will be the pro rata till the month end closing activity. So the first period will be the 00. And what happened to the second period? What happened to the period control? Pro rata mid of the period means what I'm going to be the pro rata the mid of the month means 1 to 15 days. And the second one, pro rata from the mid of, that is from the 2 to 14 days. Like this, what I'm going to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Up to 12 I've taken here. Because I might be purchasing the asset on 4th. I might be assigning the purchasing of the asset in the 8th date. I might be purchasing the asset in the 12th of this date. That is in the month of the 12th. So the pro rata is going to be calculating like this. The pro rata is going to be calculated. This is the first period. This is the first period. This is the second period. Means here I'm going to be designing the formula. Here I'm going to be designing the formula so that The asset, what has to do, you are going to be calculating the asset value. So for this asset, what I have given, what is the acquisition I have given? 01. What is the 01? 01 is nothing but pro rata from the period start date. Very, very important. So what is the, when the second asset has been acquired, the second adding of the asset has been acquired on 15/1/2021. The first acquisition was went on 1/1/2021. So what happened when you come to the month-end closing activity? What the system will do, based on the pro rata from the period start date, this total consolidated amount. So for the asset, the period start date was happened on 01/01/2021. For the second one, it is on 15. So based on the formula, whatever the formula you're given, it will be calculating the total sum of the value in the current period based on the 10%. See, 10th and 15th, sir. 15/01/2021. So what is the period start date, sir? For this period start date, it is going to be for the 21 days. 21 days. And for this period start date is going to be called as the 16 days. Very, very important, sir. Here. Sir, 15 days. Exam 15 or 16, 31 days, na? 16 or 16. So it will be calculating based on the pro rata only. There is no confusion here. So it will be on the 10%. It will be on the 10% only. It will be on the 10% only. So here, according to the 21 days, it will be on the 10,000, 1,000. That will be on the 100,000 USD dollars. And according to the 16 days, 10%, it will be the 5,000. So the total amount. It is based on the total amount. Classic, it is happening not based on the. So, sir, when you are going to be calculating the depreciation, sir, the depreciation will be always calculated in the month end only, no, sir, not in the mid of the period or not in the start of the period. The depreciation you have to always calculate on 31/1/2021 for the month of January, and for the month of February, you have to calculate on 29, if it is a leap year, whatever may be, 29/02/2021. Every month end you are going to be doing the calculation. So it is not in the period start date or in the period month end. It has to be done in the month end closing activities. So in the classic asset accounting, what is happening? You're not calculating based on the total consolidated amount in the month of January. So the depreciation, the system will calculate the depreciation on the on the first transaction first and the second transaction second. Like this, it will go, and there will be some value variations will be there between the old classic asset accounting to the new classic asset accounting. It will come the difference, sir, because based on the calculation of the number of days you're going to be calculating. No, not like this, sir. In the classic asset accounting, we are going to be not calculating on the pro rata base. That is the formula we are not going to be having in the classic asset accounting. Maybe what is happening here in the classic asset accounting, what is going to be happening here, sir? It will not allow to consolidate the total amount. For example, I will tell you one example. For this particular transaction, okay, you want to do this particular transaction on 31/01/2000. Again, I want to calculate the depreciation on this 5,000. The 5,000 not on the 01. I want to do on the 30th, for example. For the 30th, it will be the 01. So here, this is what we can do in the classic asset accounting. It is not available in the new. But in the new asset accounting, you cannot take the different date for the period and closing activity for the transaction wise. Any one date you have to take. Either it should be the 31st or either it should be the 30th. This is a new formula in asset accounting for the SAP S/4HANA. Very, very important. Not in SAP S/4HANA. It has been introduced from EHP 5 onwards. The total number of transactions you are done in the current period. The total, it may be 20 transactions, the 30 or 40 transactions, whatever the number of transactions you have done. So when you are calculating the depreciation on 31/01/2021, it will accumulate all the total transaction value and it will start calculating the depreciation. It will come, sir, based on the days wise, it will be coming the difference, sir. Definitely 100%, because the calculation procedure is different. Actually, that is because we don't have the classic asset accounting now, sir, because the configuration was different from the classic asset accounting. Now there is no classic asset accounting system with me right now to explain that, sir. But I'll take some screenshot from the previous announcement. I'll show that. Okay, because there is some differences there in the configuration side. What is happening in, okay, the addition is going to be not happening in the same period. Okay, the addition is going to be, means this asset is still, it is active, sir. This asset is still, it is active. So 10% is going to be calculating the depreciation. So this particular value of 5,000, you are not done on the first acquisition, is not done. It has been done in the month of March. Example, let me take in the month of March, sir. This 5,000, you are adding some more value to the existing asset. So this 5,000 will be for the month of March, and already it has started calculating the $100,000 from the 01/01/2021. So this will be posted. Means what is happening when you go to the month of March? When you go to the month of March, so it will be the total consolidated amount in the month of till January and February. It will be only $100,000. But in the month of March, now the asset will be start calculating the depreciation not only on the 5,000, sir. It will be the sum of the total values for the particular transaction. Means in the month of March, we have the 10,000 or $100,000 and 5,000. Yeah. So when you're keeping the calculation date as a blank, for example, I don't want to take the calculation, then by default, the calculation date and the acquisition date will be the same. And this is the date where you are going to be using called as the ordinary depreciation calculation date. If I take this particular asset, this is the asset number and this is the company code. See, sir. So let us take an example. I'm taking the book depreciation. This is my straight line depreciation, and the 40 years is going to be called as my depreciation. Here I'm not given any stress. See, sir. Ordinary depreciation start date was empty here. You can see here that because I'm not given the ordinary depreciation. If I go to the general data, because why it has not coming? Why? Because till now this asset is a new asset. Means 1001 you have created as a new asset. Till now, see here, there are no transactions was happened to this particular asset. So if I come to the general data, see, the first acquisition date and the calculation date was empty. Why? Because you are not done the acquisition. You are not procured this asset from the vendor. It is empty now. Because if I show the calculation date and the acquisition dates were empty. Now let me go to another asset. See, if you see this asset, the first acquisition was done on 1/1/2021. That is 2021 is the financial year. And what they have done, they already done the deactivation. Means already this asset was, he has purchased this asset on 01, but within 3 months he has sold this asset to a customer. Means this asset was completely deactivated. So if I go to the depreciation area, see, this is the ordinary depreciation start date 01/01/2021. So which date it has considered? It will be considering the first acquisition date. This is the first acquisition date. So what is the first acquisition value? So if I go to the asset value, now I cannot post any transaction because this asset was deactivated. Deactivated means the asset was sold to a customer. Now if I see here, this is what the asset value date. I explained you, what is the value date? The value date is the date of the acquisition date. Okay. So now on 01/01/2021, $100,000 you have procured this asset, and on 12/3/2000 means on the next value date is for the same asset. This is the same asset. Okay, the asset number is same asset in the same year. The next value date is coming about 12/3/2000. What is this 12/3/2000? This is not the acquisition. If you see the transaction type 260, it is the retirement. So value dates are going to be, so there is a two value date. One is the acquisition value date, another one is going to be called as the retirement value date. For example, I have not done the retirement, Mr. Mahesh. I added some more value to the same existing asset. So that asset, that add value date is going to be called as the asset value date for you. Very, very important here. So this is how the difference between the acquisition date, calculation date, and the asset value date and the ordinary depreciation calculation dates are going to be different. I'll example, one example, I'll go with one example. See here, acquisition date you cannot change, but I can change the calculation date. See here. I can take the date from not one. Okay, I want to take the date from 10/01/2021. But the acquisition was done on 01/01/2021. But if you change, if you're not giving the depreciation calculation date, if you're not giving the depreciation if this field is empty, by default, automatically system, what it will do, it will take the first acquisition, not based on the calculation. No, but depreciation should be calculated not on the first acquisition date, Mr. Mahesh. The depreciation date, the area, the depreciation should be done on 10/1/2000. If that is the case, then you have to manually change the depreciation date for not from 01/01/2000. It should be the 10/1/2021. So you want to tell that I want to use this car for 1 year, then I'll acquire this asset from you. You're going to tell like that to me? Definitely, sir. If you're not giving the, if you're leaving this ordinary depreciation date as a empty here, you're not inputting any value. By default, it will take the first acquisition date into consideration. Don't take the first acquisition date. I want to take the capitalization date as my ordinary depreciation. Then initially, because this asset was deactivated, initially, if you don't want to do, you can go and change this ordinary depreciation date to 10/1/2021. If you want the capitalization date as ordinary depreciation date. No, sir. Defaultly, it will be the acquisition date only. No, not to worry. If you leave that field empty means default, it will be the acquisition date only. No need to worry. But if you want to change the acquisition date to the other date, something like capitalization date or any other date, you can change it. If you go to the asset value, if I go to the asset value, this is the value date. This is very, very important formula what I'm going to be discussing. Now you got some idea about what is asset accounting now? Because it is possible, sir. I'll show that. I'll show that. I'll show that. So you can take this definition. In the classic asset accounting, system won't allow you to post any depreciation if you have errors in the depreciation run. But now in the new asset accounting, you can exclude the errors and you can execute the depreciation for the asset, like cost estimation for the material cost estimation. This is one of the definition they have given. What it is telling that, okay, what they're telling here, but they had not explained in a detailed way. I'll explain you. What they're telling here is, see, for example, there are 500 assets are there. Example, there are 500 assets are there. So what you're going to do in the month-end closing activity, you're going to be calculating and the posting the depreciation for all the 500 assets. You cannot post for single assets. This is very true. You cannot post a depreciation for a single asset. So the number of assets you have been acquired, which are going to be the active, the total number of assets are going to be the 500. The system, what it will do, it will calculate and post the depreciation for the 500 assets. Okay. So if any error is there out of 500, okay, 480 assets are perfectly okay, and the remaining 20 assets have some errors in the calculation process. There are some errors are there. So in the classic asset accounting, what SAP will do here, it will stop posting. It will stop posting the remaining 480 assets because of 20 assets have been in an error status. Because the 20 assets have been error status, these are successful. But the system, what it will do, it will not allow the remaining 480 assets to post a depreciation because of there are 20 errors are there. Whereas now in SAP S4 HANA, very, very important. Now in SAP S4, not in ECC, even though in ECC also, if it is a new asset accounting, this is the same thing. This is the same thing. In new asset accounting also in SAP ECC, even though you activated the new asset accounting in SAP, this is the same thing we are going to be. But now in SAP S4 HANA, with the new asset accounting, very, very important. See the logic which I'm going to be using. So in SAP S4 HANA, with the new asset accounting, what SAP is going to do, when you are calculating and posting the depreciation for 500 assets, there are 20 assets have gone to the error, remaining 480 assets are successful. Now what the system will do, it will not stop processing the asset depreciation. It will post the depreciation for the 480 assets and it will stop processing for the remaining 20 assets. Very, very important. Means 480 assets have got successfully posted because there is no showstopper for them, and for the remaining 20 assets which have gone to the error status, they are stopped in the month of December. Why? Because the 20 errors have some value differentiation. That is the reason it has gone to the error status. We cannot post the depreciation. 480 assets posted, successfully posted. I can see the document number. But in SAP ECC, not in SAP S4HANA, either you are in the classic asset accounting or new asset accounting. This will be happened in the SAP ECC. Means the system will stop, even there are errors are there. The system will stop processing of the asset for the remaining 480 assets also. Very, very important. It will not post you to the posting of the assets. It will stop until or unless if you don't rectify the 20 errors, it will not allow you to post the depreciation for the remaining 480 errors. Very, very important. In SAP S4HANA, not like that. In SAP S4HANA, the 480 assets will be the successful posting will be done, and 20 assets will be in the error status. So how long it will be the error status? Till December 31st. Till December 31st. From you have encountered, you have observed these 20 errors in the month of January. In the February, same 20 errors. February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, same. But in the month of December, very, very important here. Until or unless if you don't rectify these 20 errors, very, very important. You cannot open a new fiscal year for 2022. Don't worry. Please, the system will not allow you to open the new year for the asset accounting for the 2022. Why? Because these 20 errors are still, it is in the active status. You had to rectify them and you had to post them as a successful, how you posted for 480 years. But it will not be a showstopper for the remaining from the Jan to December. It will not to be a showstopper, but in the December it will catch. December you cannot ignore these 20 assets. In December month you had to rectify those 20 assets and post them successfully, and there should not be any errors in any asset accounting, and then you can open a new fiscal year. Okay, so what it is happening now? What it is happening? So now you can see how the logic is going to be working now. Okay. So what is the 10%, sir? 10% on total 100,000 USD dollars means every year the 10% means 10% means 10,000 USD dollars. So first I'm going to be taking the first year. This is the second year. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. Okay. First year, second year, third year, these all are going to be called. These all are going to be called as the years. Okay. Now, in the first year, very, very important. So, APC value is the 10,000 USD, that's 100,000 USD dollars. Very, very important. See, this formula I'm going to be taking now. I'll explain you the formula. One second. Asset accounting should not be like a GL accounting or account payable or account receivable. Asset accounting should be understood in a logical way. Otherwise, you will never get asset accounting in the complete lifetime. Very, very important, I'm telling you. So here I'm showing the formula. Acquisition value and the ordinary depreciation value. Acquisition value. What is the acquisition value here? The APC value is nothing but acquisition value 10,000. Ordinary depreciation value for the first year. Very, very important. Ordinary depreciation value. Very, very important here. Okay. Oh, not here. Okay. So what is the ordinary depreciation value in the first year? It is the 10,000. How you are going to be getting this 10,000? Because 10,000 we are going to be getting based on the formula what you are going to be incurring. 10% yearly means 10% for the first year. It is going to be the 10,000. 100,000 into 10 divided by 100. So you will be getting as a 10,000 USD dollars. Very, very important. What is the net book value? What is the net book value? Net book value, very, very important. This is what exactly the net book value. 100,000 minus 10,000. 90,000 is nothing but your net book value for the first year. 90,000 is the net book value for the first year. And the APC value will remain same. The APC value will remain same here. There is no change in the APC value. The APC value will remain same. The ordinary depreciation value also will remain same. There is no change in the ordinary depreciation value 1 year. But the net book value is going to be diminishing. That is 80,000 for the second year, 7,000 for the third year, 6,000 for so and so year. Okay, we are going to be doing 5,000, sorry, 50,000, 40,000, 30,000. See the last year now. 20,000. Now 10,000. See, now here, this is what exactly the logic. Now what happened? Now ordinary depreciation value plus your, so not here. Ordinary depreciation value in the 10th year plus the net book value has become the same. Now the value will become the 0 here. Very, very important. Now the value has become the 0. Very, very important. Now the value has become the 0. What does it mean that now till the 10th year, the depreciation has been stopped? Why? Because now the total acquisition value, the depreciation value, and the net book value is going to be reaching now the 10th year, the value of the depreciation is going to be the 0. So if I take the first month, if I take the first year, for the month of 2021, for the year of 2021, how many, so K4 is nothing but my fiscal year. K4 is nothing but my fiscal year. So what is going to be? January period, very, very important. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So total 12. First, I'm taking the first one now. I'm taking the first one. So every month end you're posting the depreciation. Every month end you're posting the period end closing. What is the period end? 31st/1/2021. So in the month of January, are you posting the 10,000? No. Are you posting the 10,000? No. 10,000 divided by 12 months. So the first month, it will be the something like 833.66 something it will come, or something like it will come. Like this is the first month. Very, very important. In the month of February, we have only 28 days. Very, very important. So based on the number of calendar years, it will be calculating. So 31 days, it will be the 834. If it is 30 days, means 833. The total, if you combine the total, it should come as a 10,000. So accumulated depreciation is the total value which is getting consolidated for the particular amount. So the acquisition amount is going to be, for example, if I want to see in the month of 10th period, so the total accumulated will be the total value of from 1 to 10 periods. So ordinary depreciation, this is the ordinary depreciation value. This is the depreciation value. Very, very important. This is the depreciation value. And if I want to see the accumulated means, there is a report is there. So the total accumulated means the sum of all the values from here to here. So what is the sum of the total value? So 833 into 10 periods. So the total value will be the something about 1,000 something it will come. Like this is the accumulated depreciation. If it has, we have a report. So we have a report based on the formula what I'm going to be explaining. This is the net book value. Now for the example, there is no net book. Why? Because in the same year, the same month, okay, so the asset has gone to the adjustment, means the asset was retired, so adjustment was done. There is no net book value. Why? Because the net book value was not available in the first period. But here, if I see the value, the net book value is getting diminishing every percent, 10%, 10%. If it is not a straight line method, if it is a diminishing, for example, written down value method, it is not a straight line. Straight line means every year 10%, 10% means 10,000, 10,000. But this is a WDV. What is the WDV? Written down value method. Then the ordinary depreciation value will not be the same like here. It will be every year you can see 10%, 10,000, 9,000, 9,000, like how you're going to be seeing for the book depreciation, it will be the diminishing value for here, because it is the written down value method, not a straight line depreciation. So depends upon the formula you're going to be assigning, depends upon the formula, what formula you're going to be assigning, the system behaves the posting of the depreciation. Very, very important. So there will be different types of calculation methods are there. So you are going to be using the straight line or DB or declining, depends upon the nature of the asset you are going to be posting. I'll show because we have the practicals. Exactly, because if I see here, if I come and see here, okay, this asset was parameter, where what type of, this is going to be called a SL current method, means SL in straight line. SL is going to be called straight. The ordinary depreciation we have started on 0101. So SUL1 is the depreciation key. So how do the SAP knows it is a straight line method or what return on value method? So it is a straight line method. So if I go back, SUL1, SU01. Where is that SU1? Okay, this is what exactly. If I go back, how do the system, this is only the description, but how do the system, this is a straight line or this is the declining, how do the system knows? If I go to the assignment of calculation methods, here, what class I'm giving, it is a straight line depreciation. There are other declining is there. If you want to go for other depreciation, it will be there. So it is a straight line depreciation. So the system will calculate the 10% as based on the straight line depreciation. Clear now, all of you? This is the introduction to the asset accounting in SAP S4HANA. But how it is going to be work, we have to see the configurations.